gals, and non-binary pals. Welcome back to Nerd Explosion, the weekly podcast where based on a monthly theme we nerd out about whatever we want. I am Cameron.
And I'm Kate.
I threw you off there for a second.
I was not expecting the full Minnesota.
Well, hey there.
Oh, hey there.
Well, just sneak right past it, don't you know? But we are continuing True Crime Month here on Nerd Explosion. And we got, 2 cases down? We did JonBenet Ramsey. We did Bryceless Pizza. I almost said Less Pizza. Less Pizza. There we go. And Kate's got another one for us today.
I do. A quick disclaimer, though, because we've had some comments and concerns. I'm not an expert, okay? Like, I have a wealth of knowledge, right? Like, I know the important parts about the important facts about cases, and I always try to be respectful towards the victim because at the end of the day, it's their story that I'm telling. However, I do work, so like the research that I'm doing is what I can do in between a color processing or what I can do in my downtime on my day off, or like it's not super in depth give you every fact of the case ever, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like we said in the JonBenet one, it's a condensed version of this, so it's like if you want like a big, more in detail like explanation, there are plenty of other people, but we're just doing it how we're gonna do it.
Well, and like at the end of the day, this is not a true crime podcast, although I would love for it to be.
Maybe I'll do that as a second one. Maybe I'll start a second one. I don't know.
Also, the other thing is that, like, Cameron started this podcast. I just joined in February because I was bored and wanted something to do. And I thought it would be a fun way to spend some time together. But, like...
And also, for listeners, just so we're all aware, I know I'm an idiot. I don't need you to tell me I'm an idiot. Oh, I'm fully aware I'm an idiot.
We check each other every day.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so like I am a true crime fanatic. Like just true crime in general, every asset of it fascinates me, but I am by no means or have ever claimed to be an expert.
Yeah. Fanatic is definitely different than expert.
Like I will sit and binge watch every true crime documentary Netflix can throw at me, but that doesn't make me a detective, you know?
And that being said, too, like, we do appreciate the comments. Like, don't get me wrong. Don't get us wrong. We appreciate the comments. We love the interaction. Just clarifying some stuff,
Yeah, just further clarification. Neither one of us are experts. Him less than me.
It's better to address them rather than just leave it there and you're like, really? You're not going to address it? And, because day and age we're in.
Right.
But anyway, True Crime Month. Kate, what do you got for us today?
Okay, so I think I mentioned her in the Bryceless Pizza episode, but I have another missing persons for you.
I can't remember the name, but I think I know who you're going to talk about.
Take a guess.
I don't remember the name. I don't remember what name it was. And you raising your eyebrows is not going to help me remember.
Well, if I give you a hint, it's going to give it all away, but I'll give you a hint. This person shares a name with a member of my family.
Madeleine? Madeleine Harper?
No.
I don't remember what the last name was.
Madeleine McCann.
Madeleine McCann. There we go.
I think it's McCann, because it's McCann.
MCC what?
McCann.
ANN. So McCann, probably.
But I've heard it pronounced both ways. I'm not totally sure.
I think I knew somebody.
I'm going to go with McCann just because that's how I would read it.
Yeah, and I knew somebody in high school.
And I think that's how the parents say it.
I knew somebody growing up who had that last name. It wasn't, I don't think it was spelled the same, but it was pronounced like McCann.
Because there's no I or E. So my assumption would be, just on my basic knowledge of the English language, my assumption would be that it's pronounced McCann.
Yeah, that's what I would assume too.
First of all, look how cute she is.
Oh, cute little kid.
Literal angel baby. Precious baby angel. So this precious gift from above, and I mean that sincerely. I mean, I feel that way about all children in general, but Madeleine has these just absolutely adorable, like smoky green blue eyes, and then she's got on her iris, and I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it looks like her iris kind of bleeds out in a little droplet a little bit around the color part of her eye.
Mm-hmm.
The color part of your eye is the iris, isn't it?
It's no the
iris is I think, and then the pupil is the black part. Please hold. The pupil I believe is the center of your eye, and your iris is the colored part. But the if center, I remember my anatomy right, the dark part of her eye, which most people call the pupil. Again, not experts, also not doctors, so don't come.
Oh no, the pupil is the gray part. The iris is the middle.
Are you sure? Because I thought the middle was the pupil, because that's what dilates.
You hear people say green pupils, your blue pupils. I don't know.
No, I'm pretty sure the black part is the pupil, because that's the part of your eyeball that dilates.
Looking it up because I'm stupid.
Anyway, listeners, look up a picture of Madeleine McCann, because she's super cute.
Okay, so the iris is the colored part. The pupil is the black center.
So her pupil kind of bleeds into her iris a little bit.
And the white part of your eye is called the sclera. The more you know.
Insert star wipe.
The more you know. Wow.
So Madeleine
McCann. The land of make-believe. Anyways, all right, continue. That wasn't even the same show I just quoted. Oh, by the way, new episodes of this podcast come out every Saturday. I forgot to mention that. Anyway, crack into it. Let's go.
Oh, I want a Diet Coke.
Do you want this one?
Yes.
All right, you start telling the story. I'm going to grab my own Diet Coke.
He's so good to me, you guys.
All right, yeah, you start. I'm going to grab some drink.
So again, this is just like a super cursory, like, I looked through all the important facts. I mean, everything is important. True crime is a very touchy space, because it's like you want to get the story out, because if they're on the off chance that, and I kind of said at the top of the episode, spoiler alert, we don't know what happened. She's missing. On the off chance that she is out there alive and well somewhere, if the more we get the story out, the more potential there is to bring her home.
Well, yeah, because the more people talk about it, the more people are going to be like, oh, this is interesting. Maybe I'll keep a look on and, get more people interested and more eyes on it.
There have been an astronomical, well, I say that, but I'm exaggerating. But either way, there have been an impressive amount of cases solved just because the right person heard the right story.
Well, yeah, because you got, especially with all these true crime podcasts, you get the right person to listen to the right episode, and they're like, oh, actually, I know this.
There was a triple homicide in Florida years ago. It was a mom and her two daughters, and this dude killed all three of them on his boat and threw them overboard, and then years later, his neighbor across the street was like, yeah, this dude's kind of creepy, happened to find a sample of his handwriting and sent it into the police, because she's like, I think this might be your guy. And they solved the case. So it's just, putting it out there is so important, but also being so respectful of the family and the victims, because at the end of the day, it's their story that we're telling.
Yeah.
So I just try to do my due diligence, and now I feel like I'm defending myself. These cases are important to me because the family deserves answers, right?
Absolutely.
And if there was an atrocious crime committed other than kidnapping, the family deserves justice, and Madeleine deserves justice.
Yeah.
And if our little podcast and my little voice can bring that closer, then I'll sleep good at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
So the information I got on this case was from biography.com. It's just kind of, like I said, a very condensed version of the case. And then I will touch on my TikTok has been blowing up, and this is what brought it back into the forefront of my mind. My TikTok has been blowing up lately with this girl in over in the UK claiming that she thinks she is Madeleine McCann because they have the same
thing going on with their eye.
They're the same genetic. I wouldn't consider it a disorder necessarily, but I think that's what they classify it as.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a disorder. It'd be like just a genetic.
Yeah, they have the same kind of
quirk, I guess.
Eyeball situation going on. Spoiler alert, her DNA does not match the parents, so she is not, in fact, Madeleine McCann, but I'm going to touch on that briefly.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the story of Madeleine McCann. And I'm sorry if I keep going back and forth between McCann and McCain. I'm going to try to stick with just McCann, like I said, because in the documentary on Netflix and the Disappeared episode that I saw, was it Disappeared? I feel like it was Disappeared. I should have double checked that. I believe the parents pronounce it McCann.
Mm-hmm.
So, approaching the end of a week-long family holiday in Portugal. That was terrible Spanish. I tried real hard. In Portugal. In Portugal, the McCanns left 3-year-old Madeleine and her two-year-old twin siblings, Sean and Amelie, unattended in their rented apartment at the resort. Let me see. No, I can do it. I'm just any Spanish speakers. I am of the Caucasian persuasion. I apologize if I butcher this. So their resort was called the Praia de Luz.
Praia de Luz.
Yeah. Praia.
Praia. Praia de Luz.
Yeah. Praia de Luz. In the Algarve region. While they had dinner at a nearby tapas restaurant with friends on the night of May 3rd, 2007. So they were on vacation with 7 other friends and 8 children in total. So it was like a family, like a group family.
Yeah,
vacation.
like a bunch of different families going on vacation together.
They began dining around 8:30 p.m. and the restaurant was about 180 feet away from the apartment complex, which was not gated and was accessible to the public. Each parent took turns checking on their respective children throughout the night, and it was around 10 p.m. that Kate discovered Madeleine was missing. And I'm sorry, I forgot to tell. Madeleine's parents are Kate and Jerry McCann.
What year was this?
2007.
2007. Okay. Because I was going to say, this is definitely before the time where you could easily just FaceTime your kids.
So this, well, also keep in mind she's 3 years old.
Well, 2007, so that whole thing wasn't, like, as, I guess, accessible. Like so the whole FaceTime thing. So it was still the era where you had to physically, go check on someone.
And this was the first case that I remember actively watching unfold.
Mm-hmm.
Because in 2007, I would have been 13? 12, 13?
Let's see.
94 to 04, I would have been 10. And then 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I would have been 13.
Yeah, 2004, 2007. That's 17 years ago, so...
So I vividly remember
this
case
you would have been
unfolding.
12. So I was 13 at the time.
And it struck a particular chord with me because my baby sister's name is Madeleine. And I just, her face was everywhere. So this is the first case that I remember watching the news just to see if they had found anything.
See, and I don't remember anything during that time period. Also, I didn't really pay too much attention to crime scenes. I was a stupid 13-year-old kid. I didn't pay attention to that stuff. I was worried about, looking cool in middle school and cartoons and whatnot.
We lived very different childhoods, apparently. You were obsessed with cartoons and I was watching.
Well, yeah. If I wasn't at school trying to look cool, I was at home playing video games.
So it didn't say in the biography article that I read, but Kate was very adamant that it was either her or Jerry that went back to the apartment every 30 minutes. So Jerry would go. So they started eating at 8:30. So at 9 o'clock, Jerry went to check on Kate. At Madeleine, excuse me. At 9:30, Kate went to check on her. And then, or maybe Kate started because Kate was the one that discovered her missing. And that was at 10 o'clock. So, yeah, I mean, they took, because she said that Kate had said in one of the documentaries that I watched that they could see their apartment that they were renting. They could see, they say apartment, but the documentary made it look more like a hotel situation. So I don't know what the correct terminology is.
I'm guessing it was one of those that were like, it was technically a hotel, but it was style like an apartment.
Yeah, it kind of seemed like an apartment, like
a luxury,
like what you would consider
thing.
an Airbnb now is kind of the vibe that I got from it.
Yeah. Like a luxury type deal or like high class.
Yeah,
something
she
like that.
said they could see their apartment from where they were sitting. They were sitting outside eating.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, we crossed the street. Every one of us crossed the street every half hour to just check on the kids, make sure they hadn't woken up or, whatever. Or if they had woken up, if they needed anything or what have you, like normal parent behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So 10 o'clock, Kate discovers her missing. Immediately, the weeks ahead of that, the Portuguese authorities were strongly in the camp that the McCanns were responsible for their disappearance of their daughter. Concocting the theory that Madeleine had accidentally died in the apartment and the McCanns had gotten rid of her body. So in September then, they were both labeled suspects, but a year later, the label was lifted due to lack of evidence, and they were eventually cleared as suspects.
Mm-hmm.
The Portuguese chief police inspector who led the case to find Madeleine, Gonçalo Amaral, resigned in 2008. He shortly thereafter released a book titled The Truth of the Lie, which became a bestseller. In it, he alleges that Madeleine accidentally died in the apartment, and in an attempt to cover it up, her parents, quote, faked her abduction. Calling the book downright lies, Kate and Jerry sued Amaral for libel in 2009 and later won, but in April of 2016, an appeals court overturned that decision. And that's really it. There's very, very little evidence. There's no DNA. I could not find. I read a couple different articles, and like I said, I watched I believe it was a Netflix documentary, and I think I noted it here. Let me just scroll through my notes for one little sucker. Yes, so it was an 8-part series titled The Disappearance of Madeleine McCann. And in it, I did take notes on it. Okay. So that came out in March of 2019. And 2 months before Madeleine's 16th birthday, the series revisits the early investigations, which focused on the parents as likely perpetrators of the crime, as well as later one by British authorities, which produced a list of 38 viable suspects who had never been questioned. And here's my issue with... Okay, I noted some recent updates, so let me run through those really quick, and then I'll get to my thoughts and feelings about this case.
Alrighty then.
So since Madeleine's disappearance in 2007, there have been approximately a little over 8,000 potential sightings of her, with the investigation reaching close to a controversial 12 million euros, almost 17 million US dollars.
Jeez.
In June of 2020, UK authorities identified a 43-year-old German man as a suspect. The unidentified man, who is currently in prison for a sex crime, love that for him, traveled around in a camper van, living a, quote, transient lifestyle in southern Portugal's Pereira da Luz area between 1995 and 2007, according to the BBC. So he was there. She went missing in 2007.
Mm-hmm. He just happened to be there.
In response to the recent findings, the McCanns released a statement in part saying, and this is quoted from them, "All we have ever wanted is to find her. Cases involving children are very hard for me." I'm gonna try really hard not to cry, but I'm not gonna make any promises.
It's hard for anybody, I imagine.
All we have ever wanted was to find her, uncover the truth, and bring those responsible to justice. We will never give up hope of finding Madeleine alive, but whatever the outcome may be, we need to know, as we need to find peace.
Well, it's good that, that many years later, they're still, holding out hope.
Yeah, and...
Because, it's not guaranteed that this child is ever going to return to them, alive even. but it's good to never truly give up hope until you have like a definite answer.
Well, and I think I said this in the Bryceless Pizza episode. I know I've said it to you when we've talked about different cases just in general, but parents of missing children and parents of murdered children will tell you it's the not knowing that's the hardest.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because, I mean, I think I said that too in one of the episodes. It might have been the last one or the Jumping one, but it's like, I would rather have an answer rather than no answer.
Right. And I mean,
like I would rather know something rather than nothing.
Neither answer is good, but it's like the lesser of two evils, kind of, you know?
Because, I mean, personally for me, I would be like, I would rather have somebody tell me that your child is dead rather than wonder if my child is dead.
Right. And my thought is,
because, I mean, it's still sad either way, but it's like, you know,
it's
at least
tragic,
that's a definite answer, you know?
Here are some of my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I do not believe the parents had anything to do with it. I genuinely believe they're innocent. Mainly because they were with 7 other families. So there are witnesses aplenty.
And who was Madeleine with?
She was in the hotel room with her 2-year-old twin siblings.
2-year-old twin siblings.
Yeah,
okay.
So it was Madeleine, who was 3, and then her twin siblings, Sean and Amelie, who were 2.
And they were just in that room by themselves?
They were sleeping, yeah. So the parents put the kids to sleep, walked across the street to the diner, and had dinner, but then every half hour, one of the parents would go check on the kids to make sure that they hadn't gotten up and they were still sleeping and everything was hunky-dory.
Like, not to make a joke about it, but man, those are different times. You could literally put your toddlers to bed and then leave.
Literally. Like, even growing up, my parents would put us, when we were at the cabin, they would put us in the back cabin. They'd put us to sleep, put us in the back cabin, leave the door fully open and unlocked. I mean, just the screen door was open, and then they would go into the main cabin and continue their night, or they would go down to my great-grandparents' cabin when they were still alive. And, I mean, it was just down on the beach, but, like, we were alone.
Well, yeah, and the thing about that is, like, at, like, that late, like, you have a good community. There's a good community up there.
Oh, absolutely.
But that's also, you know, what they said about Jeffrey Dahmer. They said, like, oh, he's a good guy. He couldn't do anything wrong. Literally fucking murders people.
To be fair, they did say he was a little weird. So, I don't think the parents, first of all, because there were witnesses. Second of all, because you cannot watch an interview with them and see anything other than utter despair.
Well,
I
yeah,
mean, they are completely beside themselves.
If the parents had done it,
understandably so.
If the parents had done it, they would have been really sneaky about it.
Right. And
because not only, like I said, there was other people around them. There was other families with them. Like, you would think if they did something, somebody would have noticed.
And not only that, but okay, so to play devil's advocate, let's hypothetically, what if Madeleine did die accidentally? They don't seem like the type of parents that would have just covered that up. I feel like they seem like the type, and again, this is all just me in what's the word I'm looking for? Inferring.
Yeah.
And speculating. They seem, from what I've seen in interviews and in documentaries and what I've read about them, they seem like the type of parents that had something happen, the first thing they would have done was call the police.
But just to reiterate, did they say, like, what Madeleine died of? Or she's
just straight up missing.
Oh, for some reason I had it in my head that she showed up dead.
No.
I don't know why.
Because the police in Portugal assumed that Madeleine's parents had killed her, whether on purpose or accidentally, and then hid the body and then staged the disappearance.
Well, the thing is, too, it's like, if they left that door unlocked, then that's, you know, and you said it was open to the public, too, so literally anyone can just
anybody could have walked in.
Walk up, be like, hey, I'm going to take this child, and walk away. Yeah, absolutely.
But here's the other thing, though. The timing of that had to be perfect because the parents could see the apartment from where they were sitting, and they were going every 30 minutes maximum to check on the kids. But I personally just, first of all, there's no motive. I don't feel like they would have not called the police had something happened to her. And I certainly don't think that if something had happened to her and they decided to cover it up, that they would have then gone to dinner with all their friends.
Right.
Like, nothing about that makes sense to me.
Because, I mean, without knowing these people, I feel like one of these people, if they did something and then they would go, one of the friends would be like, so, what's up?
Well, and that's a good point, too, because if you're close enough to go on vacation together, you're close enough, I would assume, to know if something was up, if something was hinky, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
But there was an eyewitness that said they saw a 25 to 30-year-old man walking away from that area kind of quickly with a toddler with blonde hair over his shoulder. Now, whether that was Madeleine or not, we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, could not have been, who knows? I mean, it's kind of like it's one of those things, like, it definitely could have been, but it's not, like, for sure.
So this TikTok thing. This lady, and I can't remember her name. I'm sure if you search...
Oh, the other TikTok thing. I was thinking of a different TikTok thing.
No, if you search...
The current TikTok thing.
If you search Madeleine McCann found, I'm sure her videos will come up, but she swears up and down that she is Madeleine McCann. She has had her DNA tested. It did not come back to be a match to either Kate or Jerry. And her mother has been on record saying that she's got some mental issues. But will say...
Like, my rage started building because I'm like, oh, what if this woman, heard about this case and is trying to cash in and be like, oh, I'm Madeleine McCann, give me attention.
Well,
that's
so
just
some people,
shitty to me.
Some people think that. But her mother said that she's been, like, not obsessed with this case, but she's like... Excuse you, Dorian. She's been involved, like, not, I don't know how to say it. She's not, like, obsessed with the case, but she's, like, obsessed with it. Like, she talks about it all the time. She thinks about it all the time.
Yeah, like, it doesn't, like, she's not, like, one of those people with, like, string on bulletin board, but she's definitely talked about it.
Excuse me.
For those listening, my cat Dorian just hopped up on the couch behind Kate and just put his whole ass in her face.
He fully hit me in the head with his butt, and then gave me an attitude about it.
That's black cats for you.
For real. Everything they tell you about black cats is true. How many times can I say should we play a drinking game? Okay, so this is from CBS News. The disappearance of Madeleine McCann and what happened to her remains a mystery to this day, and the hope of finding her almost 20 years after her disappearance is remote. However, the investigation continues with some new details that have been revealed. So there is somebody currently waiting to be tried, a German man by the name of Christian Bruckner, who is a suspect in the disappearance of Madeleine McCann. He burgled homes at the Algarve hotels where he worked as a waiter, and he worked at the restaurant where her parents and their friends ate. It looks like.
Interesting. That definitely screams suspect to me.
Christian Bruckner had reportedly worked cash in hand at the bar where Kate and Jerry McCann were dining with friends on the night the 3-year-old disappeared in May of 2007. The 47-year-old is currently facing trial in Germany accused of sex crimes unrelated to the McCann case. According to a Brit expat, he believed Bruckner was plotting at the time to abduct a young girl and sell her to a couple unable to have children. Ken Ralphs, 59, said he believed Bruckner and his co-conspirator ended up following through with the plan, targeting Madeleine in the bedroom at the resort. Speaking to a publication, Mr. Ralph said that he suspected the criminals, quote, lost their nerves when it came to selling her after the extensive global coverage of her disappearance. Mr. Ralph said he went to Portuguese and British police at the time with his suspicions. He claims he's received conflicting accounts from both over whether his claims were investigated. Bruckner, who is currently in prison for the 2005 rape of a 72-year-old woman in Praia de Luz, was named the suspect in 2020 by police in Germany who were investigating him. Mr. Ralphs claimed he was told by a mutual friend of the convicts about a week before Madeleine's disappearance that, quote, Christian was planning to take a child from Praia de Luz. He then clarified that it was not ransom, but that it was to take a child to sell to a German couple who could not have children of their own. He assured me the child would not be harmed, Mr. Ralph says, adding that he was told by another male, Christian knew many people who will pay good money for a child who cannot give birth, and that the child would be taken from a rich family with more than one child of their own, so the parents would not grieve as badly. End quote.
So if this guy had co-conspirators, then that would tie in the people who saw a man walking away very quickly with a blonde toddler.
Well, also, he's just a suspect. He's never officially been charged. Well, yeah, he's just a suspect, but if, anything is... if that leads to anything, then that all connects. Maybe we'll have... Sorry, I was just reading to see if there was anything else. So maybe this thing will be solved.
Yeah, maybe. Because it seems like they're like... Oh, especially... Because when was that... what was that you just read? When did that come out? July of last year?
Yeah.
Oh, so fairly recent.
Recently, yeah.
So, yeah, they're just... It seems like they're still, like, developing stuff, and... I mean, who knows?
Well, and that's what's hard, because, like, this girl on TikTok... That was what I was looking up when I came across the update, because the update video I saw said that the Portuguese police had declared that the search was over.
Yeah. But
then reading further into it, it's just that they're no longer looking for her. Not that they've closed the case, but that it's cold. See, and that's the problem with like seeing these things on TikTok is as soon as I go to Google and do like a cursory search, it turns out to not be the case. So when this girl was on TikTok claiming that she was in fact Madeleine McCann, Kate and Jerry were like, "We'll do a DNA test."
Oh yeah, just you want to be sure.
Well, especially reading what I just read, if she truly was kidnapped and to be sold into like to be quote adopted, but then what did he do with her? Because obviously that wasn't the case because of the nation or because of the global wide coverage of the case.
Yeah, just they probably like if they did, kidnap her, then obviously they're like, oh well, now people are looking for her and they're gonna tie it back to us. What do we do? Right.
So, yeah, I guess we'll see what happens with that, and maybe one day we'll get to do an update video.
But it definitely sounds like there's gonna be an update of some kind.
Well, either way, he's on trial because he's a rapist. But I want to say, either way, I hope they find her because her parents and her siblings deserve that. They deserve closure.
Yeah.
I don't want to say I don't think they ever will because I didn't think they were ever going to find oh shoot, I just had his name. His case was just solved a couple years ago. That little boy that went missing from the mall. Jacob Wetterling.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
I knew it would come to me. I used to think they were never going to find him, and they did.
Yeah, Jacob Wetterling. He was taken from St. Joseph, Minnesota. He was kidnapped from his hometown and murdered October 22nd, 1989 at the age of 11. Mm-hmm. His abduction remained a mystery for nearly 27 years.
Yep.
So he was murdered in 1989, and they didn't discover him until 2016.
I literally remember sitting around the table with my mom and other family talking about that case, and my mom just shaking her head and saying they're never going to find him. Well, and I remember texting her in 2016 from our first apartment because I watched it, breaking news, come across my phone, and I remember texting my mom in all capital letters, "They found him!" And she was like, "What?" And I was like, "Jacob Wetterling, they found him." And she was like, "Shut the fuck up." And so I sent her the link. She'll never admit it, but my mom's a true crime junkie too.
But I suppose with that, any final thoughts on anything? Because this that article you read with this Christian guy is definitely a good indicator
it's interesting, and it gives hope, but I don't think anything will come of it. Abducting a kid from a rich family with more than one kid so they don't grieve as much seems ludicrous to me. I think if he did abduct her, it was for other nefarious purposes, and he just didn't want to admit that.
Absolutely.
But also, him being on trial for assaulting a 72-year-old kind of goes against that demographic too a little bit, so I don't know.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens there for sure, but I'm not going to hold my breath personally.
Well, if you guys have any thoughts on this case, let us know. All my social medias are in the link tree, and if you want to bug Kate on her social medias, go ahead and do that too.
Oh, you can find me on Instagram at Kate Does Hair or at Kate versus the World.
But yeah, just with that, you guys know where to go for podcast stuff. That should be the end of this episode. New episodes come out every Saturday, so do, all that, all the things that do all the stuff. But with that being said, bring this episode to a close. Drink your water, do positive things out there. Be sure to keep a lookout for your surroundings, because you never know what you're going to find. I've been Cameron.
I've been Kate.
And as always, we'll see you in the next one. Nerds out.